We are at part 7 of our 7-part series, and today I have the opportunity to model for you what we're going to be talking about because I could have gotten very extra about this lesson. I could have created all of the slides, I could have created some sort of fancy, like, choose your own adventure based on what you need to do next. I ran all of those things through my head and realized, no, that is not the point. In some ways, I'm hoping the end of this series leaves you a little unsatisfied because what it is going to do for you is help you adjust to what should be your new normal. A sense of discomfort, a sense of incompletion, a sense that, okay, so not everything is going to be perfectly in place. And I'm okay. The world is still turning. I think us as entrepreneurs, when you are a creative type who's also very ambitious, you care so deeply about the work that you're doing. You care deeply about how other people perceive you. You want to be liked, you want to be respected, you want to do good work. And when your business is not where it needs to be, where you want it to be, we can get so caught up in this gap between where we are and where we should be. It can feel like we're standing at the bottom of a mountain. And the further away we feel from the peak, the more pressure we put on ourselves to do all the things, to be good, to be precise, to be perfect. And it is not what actually solves the problem. The reason we got into the state that we did, the reason our businesses aren't where we need them to be, where we want them to be, is not because you've not been doing enough. Often it's because you're doing too much. You're putting too much pressure on yourself. You don't have healthy boundaries. Also, you haven't necessarily developed this capacity, nervous system capacity, to be able to exist in the mess, the messy in between, which is, guess what? It's all the time. Because as I've touched on during our episode on visioning, we can feel like we're trying to reach some sort of destination, but that destination doesn't actually exist. It was created by our minds to give us this false sense of, oh, at some point everything is going to change because I will have gotten there. But nothing changes until we change it. The external circumstances aren't what change how we're feeling, aren't what change our actions, our behaviors. We choose to change our actions and our behaviors. And that is where I'm really taking you now with this final piece of the puzzle. I'm saying final piece, it's the beginning of the puzzle. I feel like the puzzle that we've been working on is the tip of the iceberg, but that's okay. Point being, what needs to change now is how you have been showing up in your business. We need to understand that what got us into this mess will not get us out of this mess. So if your default pattern has been, okay, things are not feeling good, I need to find a drastic solution. Like, I need to do something big. I need to invest a lot of money, sign up for a new thing, change my whole plan. Well, then we are going to do the opposite of that. If your default is, when things aren't going well, I have to have the perfect plan and I'm going to spend weeks mapping out this strategy, every single little detail, we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to take some messy action. Whatever you have been doing previously that has kept you on this hamster wheel is what needs to change now. And often the common thread between pretty much all entrepreneurs that I've met, that I've worked with, maybe it's just because like attracts like, is that for me, when things aren't working well, I don't want to follow through with the original plan because I start freaking out that it's not going to work. And so I change my plan. If I'd committed to showing up and just creating daily content, 5 days in, I'm like, oh no, I'm not getting results. I need to stop. I need to rethink this. This is probably the wrong platform. Oh, maybe it's the content. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. And off I go. Panic pivoting, I call this. Side note, I'm hoping at this point you have taken the anti-magnetic archetypes quiz. That is such a mouthful. I did not think of that when I created the name for this quiz. But anyway, it is what it is. But I want you to take that quiz if you haven't done so already and find out what your primary and potentially secondary and tertiary patterns are. because that is what we're going to be looking out for moving forward. Okay. Your assignment moving forward is to be spotting those patterns and making sure you don't act on them, that you just become the master observer of whatever they are. Because here is the thing, and I want you to write this one down. We need to stabilize before we re-strategize. So I'm assuming if you've been taking in this course, it means that your business is not feeling stable. It is not feeling predictable. It's not feeling safe. And while we're in that kind of instability and we start panicking, maybe getting a little desperate, a little freaked out, what we're looking for is immediate solutions, something drastic that is going to magically turn everything around. And that is when we re-strategize. But what we need to do instead is find a narrow point of focus, and we are going to commit to that, and we are going to see it through, and we're going to get okay with how uncomfortable it feels to know that all I can do is this for a certain period of time, and I'm not allowed to do anything else during that time. I'm not allowed to throw spaghetti at the wall. I'm not allowed to add extra things to my plate. I'm just going to give this my all and allow it to finally work, because that is the thing that for most of us makes the wheels fall off our businesses. We just don't stick with anything long enough for it to actually work. I've lost count of how many times I've had certain conversations with clients where they're like, I think I need to add this thing into the mix. I think I need to do this, and so is doing this over here. And I'm like, okay, but have you been doing the marketing that we said that you were going to do over the last few months? Have you actually just reached out to your existing database? But I don't know enough people. There's no way that my database is going to be enough in order for me to, my existing email list isn't going to be enough. My past clients aren't going to give me enough referrals. I need to do something new. But okay, but have you finished doing the thing that you can already do? Have you picked the low hanging fruit yet? Because why? Why in the world will we go and find some ladder and set it up in this precarious way and start climbing to the top of the tree to pick this shiny apple when there's like this juicy apple right here that we could just go bonk, and it's so simple. But to the point on stabilizing before re-strategizing. Remember when I was talking about the 3 different health levels in your business and where you're at and what we need to focus on during those times? Don't worry, I'll be linking back to all of these things in the description below if you're like, no, I think I missed that one or I forgot that one. Depending on where you're at, critical, stable, or healthy, we have got different points of focus for our business at that time. If you're in the critical stage, if your revenue is not predictable, if you know that you're not bringing in enough yet, if you don't have leads kind of flowing in, then your focus needs to be getting that oxygen back into your business. And that means, and I'm going to just give you a very dramatic example, but let's say you've only got a couple of hours a week right now that you are required to be on client work, and then the rest of your week is free. I would be saying that the rest of your week, all of those other hours that you're not dealing with clients, what you need to be doing is marketing yourself. Yeah, all of those hours. And that does not mean just posting on Instagram. There are so many ways we can market ourselves, and that can include networking, that can include calling people that we've worked with before and seeing how they're doing, meeting up for coffees, sending some DMs, sending an email. There's infinite ways we can market ourselves. And obviously, you've got your ways that work best and that maybe are not as well proven. But my point is that this is how we get oxygen back into our business. And then once that oxygen is flowing is when we start to think beyond. An example. So we've just been focusing like, let's just market. Okay, we are creating content. We're emailing people. We're texting people, DMing, we're calling, we're coffeeing, we're whatever. We've been doing all those things. That is not necessarily sustainable. That is probably exerting a hell of a lot of energy, and we can't keep that up forever. However, if we can just stick with it for long enough that we start getting those leads coming in, we're visible again, we're like, okay, I'm back in flow, this is good. Then we start to think about how can we systematize this? How can we streamline this? How can we create more leveraged visibility? How can we make sure that your content is standing the test of time? You're not just publishing things that have a really short shelf life. Like that is the next step. Like once we are in the stable zone, then we're thinking more about sustainability and making the most of your time. But if you don't have the money coming in, the clients coming in, and you have time on your hands, most of that should be marketing. at this point in time. And this brings me to another point that I want you to write down. Simplicity plus sustainability equals success. You do not need to be doing a million different things in order to blow up your business. In fact, the more you do, the slower it's going to grow, at least initially. When you don't have a clear messaging strategy, when you don't have some amazing team that's out there doing things for you, when you haven't gotten all of your brilliance into intellectual property, like when it's all just in your head and you're just go, 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 then less is more. We need to focus on mastery. And then whatever it is you stick with is the thing that is going to build momentum. It's going to create compound interest. Case in point, I had a client who I started working with when she had nothing in her business. She'd quit her corporate job. She'd started a YouTube channel, but that was it. So I think she'd published a few videos when we met, but she was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Now, she had the gift of beginner's mind. And like, this is honestly, it's such a gift. I swear, in many ways, it gets more difficult to run a business the more years that go on, because you are more conditioned by all of the noise out there. And you're like, oh, but I have like infinite paths I could take. Whereas she was like, I don't know what I'm doing, help. And she was open to guidance. When we worked together, we got her set up with a framework that became the backbone of her group program, the only offering that she had. She didn't do one-on-one coaching. It was just a group offering. And she committed to YouTube as her visibility platform. And then she had an email list. In year one of her business, kind of year zero, she made $0. She was basically just building things. She was building an audience and ran the first beta of her group program for free to get some social proof. The next year in her business, she made $80,000. She had her first $10,000 launch. Like that was also the first $10,000 she made in her business. And by the end of the year, she'd made 80 grand. The third year in business, she made 250,000. And the fourth year in business, she made $300,000. And she stuck with the strategy all the way through. She did not stop publishing on YouTube. She kept growing her email list in a very simple way. She had like 1 or 2 freebies. And very briefly at some point, she tested out Instagram and decided she hated Instagram. So she stopped bothering with it. And at one point, she was going to force herself to do LinkedIn, but then decided she doesn't want to do it. And she didn't need to because she started getting referrals anyway. And that entire time, she had the one group program, which for the first 3 years, she only sold directly to students. Whereas in year 4, she started offering it in the corporate space. And that was it. She had what you would call a boring business. What many of us go, oh, but that's so boring. That's so repetitive. And the thing is, the way we get known as experts is by being repetitive. She established herself as a thought leader in her niche very early on. She literally got asked to speak at the United Nations, and she got invited by LinkedIn to create courses for LinkedIn learning. She was the go-to. She did not get there because she was doing a million different things, jumping between topics, offering 5 different programs, every year launching something new. No, she focused on mastery. I don't know at this point how many students she's had through her program. I'm pretty sure it's over 200. And she has almost that many testimonials that rave about the program, a program that she kept reinvesting in and refining and improving. This is the formula for success: simplicity plus sustainability. Most of us are trying to do way too much. Most of us are already trying to add to our strategy before we've mastered the thing that we're already doing. And most of us give up before we see results. We start panicking that the results aren't coming, but we cannot make our commitment to showing up based on results. It needs to be based on just the commitment. What are your output goals? I think I mentioned it in one of the other videos, but that my commitment to YouTube when I first started my other channel, original channel, was 100 videos before I would give up. Not 100,000 subscribers, because if I was basing it on subscribers, I'm sure I would have given up in the first 6 months because they were slow going. But I believe it was around the 2-year mark that I'd hit 5,000 subscribers, which did not add up because originally it's like, you're getting a subscriber here and there and they're trickling in. And then 2 years later, 5,000 subscribers, suddenly that feels quite meaningful. So we need to stop chasing dopamine and adrenaline as entrepreneurs, as if you don't get enough adrenaline from panicking about paying the bills. Like, seriously, what we need to do is start to embrace boredom, repetition, commitment, and discipline, and trust that that is the thing that will get you where you need to go. And I want you to look back over the last few years and look at any patterns that you can spot. Were there moments in time where you were actually on a really good roll, but then something changed? I know for me, like one of the easiest things that would happen, and this is also the same for just about every client I have, is like you start to get busy, you start to get booked out, and you immediately drop the marketing. You drop its priority. But the problem is the marketing we're doing today is going to be the thing that is determining our results in 90 days' time. So if we've got clients right now, but we have stopped marketing ourselves, and trust me when I say that we'll have less clients in 90 days' time. Now, obviously, the 90 days is a bit of it's just an arbitrary number. But the point is, what we do now is working towards the future. And the results that you have now are based on what you were doing in the past. They're not based on what you're doing right in this moment. And I think that's where we can get a little wonky. We think that, like, okay, but I'm showing up and I'm creating content right now. Why aren't I seeing results? Well, your results are based on past you. What you're doing today is investing in future you. And when we start to see it this way, it can help us untangle a little bit and get a little less trigger happy when it comes to starting something and then wanting to ditch it. So, hopefully, that story was a little bit of an expander, a little bit of evidence for your panicking ego as to what you actually require moving forward. But I want to break it down and make this as practical as possible. And I've got three really important concepts that I want to hand to you that these are basically central to the work that I do with all of my clients. The first one is magnetic habits over panic pivots. I mean, I've already touched on this, but essentially we can see that, oh, my success is going to be based on me pouring myself into some important project, something that feels really big and meaningful and like it's going to take all my blood, sweat, and tears. And that's what's going to get me up the mountain. When what actually gets us up the mountain or, to a point where we have predictable revenue is us just sticking with one or two things every single day, every single week, rain, hail, or shine. That is the thing that gets us where we want to go. Because during that time, while we're implementing those habits, what's important to know is that it's not just about what we're putting out there in the world, it's that us sticking with something long enough is shaping us. We are developing mastery over certain skill sets that are required to succeed. And often, and this is like one of the most frustrating things about being an entrepreneur, is that you can be so skilled at what you do, as in the way you serve clients, and yet be desperately lacking in a certain area. And I'm saying lacking, what I just mean is less skilled, more of a baby in the area of marketing, messaging, sales, those kinds of things, because these are totally separate skill sets. For someone else, the struggle may be leadership and team management. Lots of stuff is working right, but then they start to hire people and the wheels fall off because they're struggling with conflict and micromanaging and suddenly don't have the energy and the time that they used to have to keep managing the rest of their business. So it is really important to understand that as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, or with a team, does not matter. There are so many skills that we actually require. And the way we build skills is through repetition. Practice, feedback, apply the feedback, and go again. And anytime we are pivoting our plans and giving up on something short term, we are losing the ability to get that feedback and that practice loop happening. And so we never develop past our baby selves in that area. And so this is another area we just need to be okay with that discomfort, that yucky feeling of being a beginner, not being good at something. The only pathway through to being masterful at something is the pathway of the beginner. And yeah, I know it's not fun. I'm with you. There are some skill sets that I have absolutely let go to seed over the last few years. And also, if I've been off a platform for a really long time, for instance, YouTube has changed in that time. And so it feels like I'm learning to ride a bike all over again. And it's not enjoyable, but I am learning to enjoy the discomfort. Like, okay, then if I'm uncomfortable, I'm moving in the right direction. Because anytime I feel too comfortable, it means I have let myself off the hook and I'm not making progress anymore. The next concept I want to hand you is that you are going to need to experiment your way to clarity. This is especially for the perfectionists, the planners, You'll know who you are, especially if you took the archetypes quiz. But many of us really want to know what the plan is that is guaranteed to get us where we want to go. We want everything to be perfect. This is why we often spend a lot of money hiring experts like consultants or coaches who are very tactical and very like, here's what you need to go do. We like to do that because it gives us this false sense of certainty that the thing is going to work. But I have learned the hard way, and this is a 3-5 projector speaking who has learned everything through trial and error. We learn quickly that there are no guarantees. There's no certainty. And the only way we find out the truth for ourselves is by testing things out. And experimentation is the key here. Experimentation takes us away from this idea of pass fail. It makes everything just an experiment. It makes it fun. We activate curiosity. And every time we run an experiment, the goal is always just to learn. And so it helps get us out of our heads and like, oh no, this has to go a certain way. It's like, well, what am I learning right now? What do I want to learn as a result of this experiment? And this is how we figure out our capacity, our natural strengths, the skills that we need to develop, the platforms that are working well for us, or that maybe we need to learn more about. All of that can come through experimentation. And when we adapt this mindset of experimentation, we understand that, oh, it's because strategy is dynamic. Strategy is not some fixed thing where you're handed it once. Strategy has to keep adapting because I tell you what, the world keeps changing. If we are still doing the same thing today that we were doing 5 years ago to grow our businesses, chances are we are going to fail because those things don't work anymore. So we keep evolving, the world keeps evolving, and that means our businesses and our approach to business and marketing and sales, but even the way we package our offerings, like what was popular and what sold really easily 5 years ago is not what is popular and selling easily today. So experimentation is how we guarantee success because we never get stuck in one approach. We just keep learning, testing things out, making notes. And if you've done that visioning work, if you know what your non negotiables are, you know what you're aiming for, then that strategy allows you to stay agile and keep adapting. The final concept I want to leave you with is minimum viable magnetism. So, there is a concept in the software industry that is minimum viable product. And what it's about is the company is figuring out what is the simplest way and the quickest way we could get this product that we're building, like this piece of software, like for instance, something like ConvertKit. They're going to go, well, what are the minimum requirements for this software to be usable, to be functional to our ideal audience, so that we can get them to start testing it out while also paying us for it. And then they can be giving us feedback about what shapes the next iteration of this product. Because what a lot of companies have learned the hard way, the hard and expensive way, is that you can have this idea of what you think is going to be the ideal. Like if we're using software as an example, you think, oh, if this software could have this feature and this fancy little thing and it integrated with this and did all of these different things and all of these automations and oh, we can use AI for it. You think that that's like this no-brainer offering. And because you think these things, you build it this way. You have to charge a certain amount. It already means that the baseline price has to be here because you've made it super fancy. And then you find out no one's buying it. And then you do a little bit of market research and find out, oh, hang on, no one cared about 80% of these features. They actually just wanted the ability to send an email in a really simple way. So if you can figure out what your minimum viable approach is to getting started, to start practicing and start getting feedback, it takes so much pressure off. You're going to reduce the number of expensive mistakes you make, and then you can start getting that feedback as you go and making these course corrections as you keep moving forward, but without getting stuck. Because the other thing is when we don't adapt this minimum viable approach, you can get stuck working on something for a really long time without sharing it with the world, which then starts to cost you as well. I've done this. I'm like, I just need another 3 months to put together this perfect course and then I'll finally offer it. Meanwhile, I went broke during those 3 months, finally put the course out there. This is my very first course that I did a full launch around. Realized after launching that I didn't even want to talk about the topic of that course anymore. I didn't want to sell it anymore. So I cost myself in total 6 months so much revenue. I could have done a really simple version of this that was live, for instance, like run a workshop version of this course and tested it out to go, are people interested? How much would they charge? And then I also would have figured out, wow, I'm already bored about talking about makeup. Like maybe this isn't the right business model for me. So minimum viable magnetism is you looking at what it is that you need to achieve, want to achieve next, like that next milestone, and where you're trying to take your business, that, point A to point B, and going, what is the simplest way forward for me? So for you, it might be like, oh, well, I really want to start having like a self-paced offering, like a fancy course that people can take. Okay, but have you offered it as a group offering yet? Have you tried running it live? If you want to do a group program, have you actually mastered the art of doing it one-on-one yet? For somebody else, you may be thinking, I want to launch a podcast. And then you're like, but I need this software. I need the microphone. I'm going to need a fancy camera. I'm going to need this and this and that. But do you really? For you to get started and to test out whether podcasting is right for you, what do you actually need? Because remember, the perfectionist in us, like the one who is really scared of judgment, of failure, of rejection, of whatever it may be, we start thinking, oh my gosh, like I need to look as good as possible and have all of these things. But all it's doing is trying to compensate for our own fear of inadequacy, and it doesn't solve it. I'm speaking from so much experience. I've been the person who spent all the money on all the equipment and it never made a difference. Like the fear was still there. So one final real life example for you with minimum viable magnetism. I had a client who wanted to start building her email list and wanted to create a freebie to do so. Felt like she had to create a freebie, some fancy something that would make people want to sign up for her email list. When she said to me, oh, I want to grow my email list, but I haven't had time to do a freebie. And also I don't know what it's going to be. And da 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 da. I was like, hang on, I'm all for this email list idea. Why do you think it is that you need a freebie in order to launch an email list? Oh, because that's what people do. I'm like, well, yes, but think about it. It's basically a form of bribery, and it does actually create one issue where if the only reason people sign up for your email list is for the freebie, you actually get a lot of people unsubscribing as soon as they have the freebie. Like they're not actually signing up for the emails. And I was like, well, we've got this obstacle here that is like you don't know what to create, you don't necessarily have the time or capacity to create this freebie right now. And we're ignoring the obvious thing, which is like, are your emails going to be valuable enough that people actually stay subscribed? Because that is going to be essential if you want people to work with you as a result of emails. Like you can't grow an email list if people sign up and then just leave again. I was like, so what if your emails were the bribe? What if you promised emails that were so juicy, that were so valuable or uplifting or whatever it is, appealing in some way, that was the point of the email list? People signed up to hear from you. And it sounds obvious when I say it like this, and yet most of us don't go there. Most of us go straight to the complicated thing. So sure enough, within a matter of days, like between that session and our next session, she had set up her email list. She had sent her first newsletter. She'd got some subscribers, and she even got a reply or two to her first email saying how much they loved her writing and loved the content of the email. Boom, solved. That is minimum viable magnetism in action. And the coolest thing about it is often we won't even need to do the fancier version of what it is that we were thinking we needed to do. Like we actually stick with the simple version because it works. So we're at this choice point right now where if you have watched all of the other videos and you've done your homework, you know where your business is at. Like you know what state it's in. You have reconnected to your vision and your goals. You're clearer on why you're doing this, where you're trying to go. You are aware of those self-sabotaging patterns and are going to be on the lookout for them. And now the real question is, what is your point B? So if you're at point A right now, what is point B and what is going to get you there? And these three concepts are essentially the ingredients of what you're going to be doing to get to that next step. If you want to do this the simple way, because trust me, whatever it is that you want to achieve, there is a simple way. So based on the state of your business and based on where you need to get next, what do you need in terms of absolute essentials? Like what money needs to come in? What do you need in terms of self-care and getting your time back? Can you formulate a plan that is as simple as possible that gets you from A to B, trusting that once you're at point B, you can reassess, you can formulate the next plan, but you're going to keep experimenting your way from point B to point C to point D and so on. We never stop experimenting. That's the point. Now, everything that I've shared with you in this free course was designed to work on its own. Like, there'll be some of you I'm trusting who are going to go off and just be set. Now, you're like, cool, I'm good, I'm back on track. Thanks, bye. And I am really genuinely happy for you. That is awesome. If at this point in time you're like, okay, this is all great in theory, but I am still overwhelmed. I don't know what the best way is. Like what is the thing that I should be doing? Like what is my magnetic habit that I should be committing to? What are my output goals? Like what is going to be the simplest option that will work based on where I'm at right now and my unique capacity, my unique skill sets? That is where Simply Magnetic comes in. So as an optional next step, I created Simply Magnetic as it's even choose your own adventure. You can either do the self-paced version where it is going to walk you step by step through the process of making those assessments, of figuring out exactly what it is that you're going to be committing to and what is going to work best for you uniquely. Or we can do this as a collaborative effort where it's a mix of self-paced work and a couple of sessions with me where we'll do some coaching on the inner stuff, where we can look at those patterns and look at what we can do in your environment, in your thinking, in your sense of self in order to disrupt them and get you out of your own way. And then also a session where we co-create your strategy together, where we really refine it. But either way, at the end of it, what you're going to have is a 60-day plan where you know exactly what it is that you are going to be doing. You are fully committed to that thing, and you are going to track your outputs and you are going to track the results based on the metrics that are best for you. And you are going to watch how your business transforms in the process of just having such a clear focus and a simple strategy. You can then use all of those materials to map out your next experiment and do another 60 days, another 60, etc., etc. I picked 60 days as a sweet spot because I find 30 days isn't enough for us to build momentum. 90 days can be a bit much if we're still figuring out what is best for us. Like, I don't want you overcommitted and realizing this thing isn't working that well. I actually need to do something different. So I find that 60 days is just a nice little amount of time for us to go on a bit of a sprint. And whether you're self-paced or you're coaching with me, I also have built-in accountability where I'll be checking in with you at the midway point, at the end point to see how you did. So you know there will be someone to answer to if you have fallen off the wagon and fallen into one of your patterns. All of this to say, if you are interested in Simply Magnetic, you'll find the link to it below. You can read more about it. You're also welcome. Leave me comments below this video if you have questions about it, whether it's right for you, which path you would want to take. If we do end up working together, I'm so excited to officially meet you. And if we don't, I'm still here cheering you on from afar, from Australia right now, but who knows, it might be from Italy next time we connect. But thank you again, all the best, and just go be your most magnetic self. All right, bye for now.